Hi, Scott Orlin with Cinema Magazine. In our continuing series of Cinema Out of the Box, we're bringing you an incredibly talented actor who has another interesting job too. Now, when I was in New York at the 1st of March and before the pandemic hit, and I got to experience the 50th anniversary revival of Company. And our guest here, Matt Doyle, was actually one of the actors in that show. Kind of give us a little state of the union about Broadway right now, because how long are things going to be shut down? Kind of what's going on?
Yeah, it's rough. I mean, there's no way to really sugarcoat it at this point, and that's become almost I think better for all of our community to be able to accept is to recognize that this is going to be a really long time. At this point, they're starting to sell tickets in September. I doubt that we'll be back in September. I think we need some sort of proof of a vaccine coming or a vaccine actually here, and to get audience members comfortable enough to come back into theaters. You know, obviously there will have to be masks for a while, and we'll all have to be a little bit more careful with one another. But I do think that if a vaccination is announced, maybe in the late summer or something, we could be back as early as maybe January or February of next year. But it's going to be a while, and that is such a devastating reality for Broadway. I would assume that about 50% of the shows that we're running before this shutdown happened will not return on the other side of it. So, I mean, that's hundreds of people out of work on the other side of this, and so much money lost. So there's no way to sugarcoat it. That being said, I do consider myself one of the lucky ones. You know, I had a great job before this happened, and Company never opened. And in a weird way, that's actually really good for us, because it means that we'll essentially still be able to have our press night and our big opening on the other side of this, which could, you know, just in a way just be an opening for a 2021 revival instead of a 2020 revival like we were supposed to be. But everything is there waiting for us, and our producers are doing everything they possibly can to make sure that we're back on the other side of this.
I just realized too that I did not officially say this is Matt Doyle.
Hi.
So we're kind of improvising as we go. Now, when you hopefully get a chance to see this show, there's some interesting artistic changes to it. Some people, gender switches that go on, and you participate in a song that I think is linguistically probably one of the toughest tongue twisters ever to be sung, either on stage or in film or just in music in general. Talk a little bit, how did you prepare? It's a song called Getting Married.
Yes.
How did you break the song down? Because it is rapid fire.
You know, it was such a long process. When I actually look back on it, I was cast in Company all the way back in last July, which now, by the way, feels like it was yesterday. So I keep saying to everyone in the midst of this nightmare, it's like, time does fly. We'll all look back on this and we won't be able to believe how much time has already passed. Because I can't believe that my audition for this was about a year ago at this point. And so I had never sung the song before, and Marianne Elliott was a friend of mine, and she called me in for a different role. She called me in for my partner's role in that show, Paul. And I went in and I read for Paul, and I told her before the audition, I think I'm more of a Jamie, which is the role I ended up getting. And she said, no, prepare Paul's material. And I said, okay. So I didn't even look at Getting Married. And in the room, she said, you're right, you're more of a Jamie. Can you learn the song? I said, sure. And she said, right now. I was like, what? You want me to learn the hardest song in musical theater on the spot? So I learned like the first verse with our wonderful music supervisor, Joel Fram, in the room. And it went well enough, and I assumed I would have like a week before my callback, but she gave me 24 hours to come back with the material. And it was actually, my partner Max is in Moulin Rouge, and it was his opening night for that show. So I skipped his opening night, stayed home until like 4 a.m, tears in my eyes, you know, trying to learn this song, got all the words into my head and just spat it out the next day in rehearsal. But from there, after I booked the role, which was just unbelievable, I made sure to really, really start breaking down the thoughts and the lyrics very slowly. And Marianne, when we finally got into rehearsal, I thought I knew that song, but she was so intense about it. Every word I would say, she would stop me and say, no, that's a trigger word as well. And, you know, you have a verse like, part of me is everybody there, because if everybody's there, I want to thank you all for coming to the wedding. Just break it down, and there's so many thoughts in that. Part of me is everybody there, new thought, because if everybody's there, new thought. I want to thank you all for coming to the wedding, new thought. I mean, and she just stayed on me so much. But what's incredible about that is if you really do break it down and you're that careful about every single thought having weight and meaning, the speed actually becomes incredibly easy because you have intention behind every word. And that's what really helped me find the speed with the song.
I want to ask you too, because it's kind of fascinating. The same way, much like athletes that are on a team.
Yeah.
You can individually go into your backyard and you can shoot a basketball or throw a ball to kind of stay personally conditioned, but how do you stay conditioned with the team? So I'm wondering, even though this show, you can actually still do your vocal warm-ups, but there's still a team effort. How do you guys stay in touch? Are you trying to, or are you just kind of putting the show aside, and then when all this is over, then get back together?
No, we're absolutely making sure that we stay in touch. You know, I think more than any show I've ever been involved with, this will be the closest I'll ever become to any company because of what we're going through together. We really love each other as a cast, and that is rare to have perfect chemistry, and we really did. Everyone had their own unique personalities, but together as a group, we really functioned well, and led by the brilliant Patti LuPone, who just is such a den mother. You know, she just cares for her cast and her company so much. And we actually meet every week on Zoom. Every now and then we do some speed through with lines just to kind of make sure that it's all there. But in general, we're having cocktail hours together. We're venting together. We're talking to each other about, you know, how we're surviving this and getting through the day. And for a show like ours, which is all about company and all about the human connection and what we learn from one another, it's really valuable to stay engaged on this level. And I keep saying to, you know, Marianne, our director, when we get to the other side of this and when we open on the other side of this, it will be, I think everyone's performance will be even richer because we'll have gone through this together and we'll have had time to actually really form the human connection with one another that we claim to have on stage as these characters. You know, it won't just be 6 weeks of rehearsal. It will be an entire year of surviving the most profound moment of our lives and of our generation. So it's something I really look forward to, is coming back and having this experience behind us, because I don't think I've ever done a show where we've connected on a level like this through such a difficult time.
You know, a lot of actors kind of have their hands in many different pots. They do other creative endeavors, and you have that too, because not only is Matt an incredibly talented actor and singer, he also creates comic books.
I do.
Talk a little bit about how you started. I mean, and you do it digitally, I think.
I do it digitally. So this is an incredibly weird story. So my best friend her name is Beth Bears. We grew up together in Northern California, and she's an actress. She was on Two Broke Girls. She's the blonde. She played Caroline on Two Broke Girls, and now she's on The Neighborhood. And I came to her one day and I said, hey, I've got this really great idea. It came to me in a dream. It sounds ridiculous. I want it to be derivative and fun in the way that something like Stranger Things is, and celebrate all the Saturday morning cartoons I grew up on, like Captain Planet and X-Men. And it's about identical twins with superpowers in a post-apocalyptic world. And she was like, I don't know how to help you. She was like, I'm not producing that right now, but maybe write the idea down and who knows what could happen. And I always wanted to write comic books, and she knew that as well. I was a huge comic book fan growing up. And randomly, she met the head of content at this website called Webtoon that is the #1 website in South Korea. It's owned by a big corporation over there called Line, and they launched in America just about 5 years ago, and it's completely exploded as they anticipated it would here. And she was just talking to him at a barbecue party, and he said, yeah, we're looking for new creators. And she was like, it just all tied together, and she was like, I know someone, and he's got a great idea. And within, 24 hours, I'm sending my treatment to this guy, and I get the deal, and I have a comic book career. It was just completely bizarre and overwhelming because I'd never done any of it before, but I was acting like I had. I was like, oh yeah, I know exactly how to do panel writing, which is what I do. I essentially write exactly what the artist is going to draw. So every panel that you see in a comic book is usually described with several paragraphs, and then the dialogue's written out. And I hired an artist that I loved, and he lived in India, and my colorist was in Malaysia, and all of a sudden I was producing a comic for the next 3 years of my life called Dents, Identical Twins. And it was thrilling. It was amazing. And I was so proud of the story. And, you know, we actually have been working with anonymous content and some really wonderful people to try and get it turned into an animated series. So we're working on that still. But you can find it on Webtoon.
Tease us a little bit.
Yeah, if you go to webtoon.com or you download the app Webtoon, it's all free content. So you can actually read it for free, which is the best part about this platform. And yeah, the way it works is it actually scrolls. So you can see here. But my artist's work, he's just incredible. And I was such a fan of his and so grateful that I got to work with him. And it was just amazing to get to create these characters. So obviously during this time, I've got all this time off. I'm going to be starting a new story that I've had in my mind for a really long time, and hopefully getting it off the ground with Webtoon again. And you know, we had about 100,000 readers a week on this comic, and this platform has grown even more since I was on it. I finished up this story this past year, but now, I mean, the new comics that go onto this platform, they're getting like 1 million reads a day. It's unbelievable, and it's so amazing to see it grow. And when it was just nothing in the States, and now it's exploded. So I hope to return to it really soon.
Well, Matt, I cannot thank you enough for being there. The comic looks amazing. So if you want to go to the website, you can follow him there. And then hopefully next year, you're going to get a chance to see him on Broadway in Company. And
yes,
be prepared. This guy's probably going to get a Tony nomination.
Oh my gosh.
That's thrilling.
You're
Matt,
embarrassing me.
thank you so much. Scott Orlin. Till next time.
Thank you so much, Scott.